a question. You have talked throughout different presentations about about AIs and counseling and stuff like that, apps. What do you think the future will bring in terms of the human in all of this? Do you think the AI is, because someone talked about AI taking over counseling, do you think AI is going to replace the psychiatrist's role in, for example, therapy? What's your view on the future in that sense?
Do you direct the question to a specific person?
Yeah, the person who spoke about AI and online counseling. So Anita, a bit as well.
Okay, so I probably know a lot less about AI than everyone else on the panel. But I've always had this view on technology that it just provides us with an opportunity. How we use it is up to us. So if we want to slack off, abuse technology, we very well can. If we want to use it for good, if we want to use it for our advantage to advance in life ourselves, it provides us with the opportunity for that. And I think in the future as well, there definitely will be people that will harness the negative sides of AI, of technology in general, and there will always be the people on the other side of the spectrum who are going to try to take the good out of it. And I think if we put it in the context of counseling, it will be the same. So there will probably be people trying to abuse the fact that it's online, you may get access to information that you shouldn't. But there will most probably be more people that are willing to use it for good.
Yeah, question?
I was just thinking that maybe it could also inspire maybe therapists to become better therapists. I mean, if it just turns out that AI is doing better work in some circumstances, then you have to think about what is it that AI does and how can we use our special human abilities in this situation.
Do you remember the little simulator bot thing that we talked about earlier during my... Were you there for my... Me and Maidis as well started talking about this technology that kind of looks at your body language and your tone of voice. The first time I watched a video on YouTube, I already got so much out of that. Because you start looking at what the computer looks at. So you're like, oh, wow, I've never thought about that being a sign of something. So, yeah. But
The question goes to Jan now. How likely is it that we're going to have these kind of apps that are going to train us in detecting human behavior in this way?
I don't know much about counseling. But what I've seen in hospital workflows, for instance, is that right now they're still a bit. I mean, AI is a bit like a receptionist, so that does the easy stuff, replaces the therapist as much as possible. But when it gets complicated or sensitive or risky, then the good AI hands it over. So I wonder, this is a question too, if this will change soon. Like, will we let the AI handle it?
Okay.
Or will the AI still be someone who gathers information, asks the simple, if then questions, and then hands this over to the clinician?
Okay. So you want my view on it?
Yes.
Right now, I don't know very far into the future, but right now it seems to me that if we bring an analogy in, it's kind of like the ebook versus book thing. So there will always be people that are going to prefer ebooks for now, and there are people that prefer books. So I think there will be people that are totally okay with AI, it's just counseling and doing... Yeah, yes. Anyway, artificial intelligence doing the therapy and counseling, but I think there will be people, at least for now, that don't feel comfortable with it. Just the idea of that. I think. But that's my personal opinion, not like as a counselor or anything like that. And let's not keep
Yes, I ask a question from Psychobus that what could be the use of the tools that you're using in your workshop in making this happen? These tools for training these counselors for online counseling.
Well,
Or any
first,
kind of counseling.
yeah, of course, as you've heard a lot, virtual reality might be something to use because you can create the whatever setting a person might want to have counseling in, and you can, like, in virtual reality, the person who's getting counseled, the patient or a client, could like change the setting as well as the therapist, what he or she wants it to look like or whatever. So maybe like it could be really customized through VR. You could use, I guess, from the certain things that we have. I would count it VR, probably something else as well, but
You don't have the micro-expression tracker yet, and the micro-expression trackers are not 100% accurate today yet. But when or if they are getting more accurate, what about that?
Okay, so if you would have the perfect counseling session where you get all your the person's physiological indicators as well. You have maybe the pulse counter and all kinds of physiological information. You have the EEG scanner all over the head, and I guess if you have all of this information, the AI can use this a lot better than a human could in the first place. So I guess that would be a really a step, or that would help the AI to consult in person. But then absolutely not everybody's going to be comfortable at it, especially not at first. So we have to get people comfortable with this technology.
There was a question.
Yeah, the question is that we're all the time looking at only the one side of the equation, which is the patient, and using AI and all the other things on the patient, but maybe we can also use the same things on the therapist. So one thing that comes to my mind is this virtual patient, so the therapist can practice their therapy skills, and it has been shown that it's quite convincing. So you can practice these really difficult cases that you don't maybe see every day, but we have data of.
Question?
Yeah, it's Megan. I also want to ask, because I just thought to myself, what is the role of a therapist in the future? When there's so much online counseling, so we can maybe take in more patients, and there's going to be more and more development in virtual reality, which make the treatment more effective. Do you think that there's going to be fewer therapist jobs because the few can do the many job? And what role do you think the therapist is going to have when there's also going to be a multidisciplinary team of developers and software engineers and the like, and CEOs within management and so on? What do you think with tools and knowledge you have that the therapist is going to look like when the technology is more developed in the future, like 20 years from now, maybe?
Can Kalle answer?
Yeah, I can take it. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in 20 years, but we can guess, and we can try to look there. One idea which I've been thinking throughout the whole discussion is that definitely AI and computers are going to work together with the therapist more and more every day. Therapist has a subjective point of view. Everyone depends on their own experience. Also the therapist, it doesn't matter how much schooling or education or training you have, you still have your own limited amount of experience, and all your counseling will depend on this. If we include AI, the more we include AI or computers or any programs as such, the more variety we can bring into the process of counseling, as the AI can notice all those things that therapists cannot. So there can be this, hopefully, in the future, that the AI can sit in the same room with the therapist and be a helping hand. For instance, during the first session, the AI registers all the things the therapist cannot even notice, and we can work together with the therapist, give the therapist feedback, and help him or her prepare for the next session, or even during the session give him or her notes or guidelines how to continue. And it can be a process of joint work, which is cooperation, which hopefully brings faster results and helps along a good therapy.
I would maybe add that in 20 years, since the technology is developing a lot faster than the human brain can like cope with this advancement. Like in the more developed countries, you see this really cool, not absolutely not cool statistics, but like where you have a war zone, you have less suicides and more deaths by whatever else is going on there, right? And whenever you don't have anything like outside killing you, it happens that you yourself, so like people themselves, have a lot more depression and a lot higher suicide rate. So if not something from the outside is not killing you, you start like kind of murdering yourself from the inside, like the society in general. So probably in 20 years, we are going to have a lot higher rates of depression and stuff like this, and a lot more psychological problems. So at first, you're going to be needing a lot more therapists to accommodate this people to the technology, and at first you're gonna just have human technology psychologists, but you're gonna need a lot more of, really, I think, especially in 20 years. Maybe in 40 years it might like switch when the technology where people can accommodate more to technology, but in 20 probably more psychologists. In Estonia we have like a need for more psychologists right now.
The idea that AI is like scanning the patient and then you get all the data, how will the patient feel like? What are we going to do to make sure that the patients won't be afraid that, everybody will know everything about me just because I'm going to this place? How can we prevent these problems concerning that?
Well, the AI has to be like in hiding to some extent in this. It cannot be that much obvious or visible. It's not like the patient comes to the therapist, steps in, and there's a big machine, so you step in there and you're going to hear some music and some videos, and the machine's going to measure all your facial expressions and your moods and stuff, and your heart rate and everything. It cannot be like this. It definitely takes time, development, all those things. So most probably in 20 years' time, it'll not be as good as it should be in the future, or will be in the future. We never know, though. And at the same time, what I wanted to add before is about the cooperation between the AI and the therapist. Is even though the AI could change the therapist, in this sense, the AI could take the job over, it can never do it fully. Even though it might be a better therapist now, as it can sense the things the therapists on their own cannot, there always needs to be this human touch. There always needs to be this human touch. You cannot trust the computer till the end, because the whole life is statistics in this sense. Everything's based on the statistical average. So what might work for 99% of you, there's definitely always one person who says it doesn't work on me, and the computer or the AI tells the same thing to everyone. So there always has to be this human touch, or the human input who can make the final decision.
How about if your AI gets better at this human touch than a human is?
No, I'm not saying that the AI gets better at the human touch. There just has to be this person, or there always has to be this this balancing factor that makes sure that that AI isn't making harm to anyone.
There was a question over there first.
Do you think it's ethical that the AI is measuring something that the patient doesn't know?
Ask the ethics committee.
I don't think it's ethical.
Definitely not. To some extent, it might be, but there definitely are specific borders and specific stepping stones where it cannot go over.
We had a question
so
there.
it's a matter of deep discussion, definitely.
Paula, do you think that when I go to the supermarket and I check out my food in my own checkout grocery place, does there always have to be a human touch who then puts it in the bag?
No, why?
I don't know why it should be the one in the therapy session.
because these are two different things. When you're buying food, you're just you're doing a daily chore. No, it's not a chore.
I'm fixing buying goods, so I'm hungry anymore.
But these are two different problems. One of the problems is you buy food on a daily basis. You don't die if today you eat you eat potatoes for a week and then on the week after you eat spaghetti and so on so forth. You're not going to die, but if you have a problem, you're suicidal, and the computer or the AI tells you, I don't know, jump off the windowsill because it makes you happy or it makes you try new stuff, which boosts your confidence or something. You cannot simply trust it because the AI might come up with the answer. I know it's like illogical and stuff, but still there has to be this human factor just making the final decision whether this is actually the thing or not. But you don't need the human factor to decide that if the computer tells you, yes, why spaghetti now, go ahead. You don't need a human being to decide, no, you need sausage instead.
I have a question?
I believe there are actually really old studies that have compared the human clinical eye versus the statistical inferences, and usually in these cases the statistics have been proved more reliable than the human clinical eye. So could it be that actually the psychologist could be the one who's not needed in that session in some distant future?
Definitely, I'm not saying that the psychologist or the counselor is the key factor. It's just the AI can do 99.99% of the job perfectly, but there should be this consideration that the human exists to some extent. Like, we cannot put the humans out totally.
Can we have, I make a comment that, and then we have a question over there, and then we have a question.
Okay, I actually enjoy listening to people talk about AI because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. But, oh wait, I had a good idea. Oh, I think right now if we're just talking about like 10 to 20 years, I think the biggest thing about using AI and computer is just the idea of using the computer. I think a lot of people are going to have a big problem about, I want to talk to a person. I don't want to talk to technology. I don't want technology telling me, it doesn't know, it doesn't understand me, it's just technology. Because we know, we understand data, we understand science, but if you take a person, especially from like a low socioeconomic status, which is the risk group, they don't trust technology maybe quite as much because they have not been there, they've not seen what is good and what is bad. They might not have the trust, so I think that is maybe even a bigger obstacle to overcome. It's not whether or not the computer does its work well or artificial intelligence, because it obviously does. Data says so, but I think the idea is going to, might limit some people.
I had a quick comment on what you said, that I can actually think of some situations where the AI would be more comfortable making a tough decision. For instance, there is this classic example of ethics that, the train is going to hit people. If you push the level, if a human pushes the level, then less people will be killed. Not 5 people, but maybe 2. And it's unethical to move the level. It's because it's unethical to intervene, right? Whereas in one case, less people will be killed. So if you have AI who has AI means that it's not something that has been taught by humans, but it's something that learns himself, right, under supervision or not. So in that example, for instance, maybe AI would be comfortable making a decision there.
As I said, 99.99% of the time AI could do the decision, but we still need the human being to be around, and the human being can just be like, this is something the AI can take care of, so I'll just shut up.
We're taking a question from the Swedish girl.
I was just going to say that I thought your question was really good, and I don't think anyone actually answered it. You say that we need a human touch, but what if the AI actually is more human than a human is? I think that was a great question, and no one answered it.
Then it is human.
But how, so
Am I more human than you are? Are you more human than Annika is?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
What defines human? And what is the human touch? Yes.
Exactly.
Can somebody define the human touch?
I think it's a bit what Jan talked about this morning, that you can't, it's going to change, and right now we're not sure what it's going to be like. Because, I mean, about this human touch, for example, you're like, what might make a AI be a better human than a human is in this like ethical situations. A human might like, I don't know, get emotional and react maybe impulsively and maybe react not in the best way, but an AI might be like able to calculate like what would be the best ethical solution here. Like I really like this ethical dilemma idea. There's a VR game actually where it's the same ethical dilemma, and you have like these 5 people on this ground, and then it's this one where you're supposed to push a person in front of the train, and then you push the person, and all of a sudden you are in front of the train. So it's a little bit mind stuff, and it's not a pleasant situation, of course. So that's like maybe. An AI might be better, or an AI needs a lot of information about these ethical dilemmas. Like, for example, you have 5 people, but maybe you don't know, like, maybe these 5 people are all, like, impotent, and the only, like, person who could bring the human nature further is, like, the one who pushed in front of the train. Like, you might not know that as a human, but you might not know that as an AI. So, that went astray now.
Like Annika said, that we find the idea of the machine like
Forward.
Like we find the idea troubling that the machine has like too much responsibility in the situation or something. Or did you say that?
I mean, in the counseling situation or therapy situation,
yeah.
What I meant was that what might come in the way is that even when we as counselors, therapists or professionals understand why it's good, it might be the patient who at that point usually might be at a lower socioeconomic status. They might not have such a good education, they might not understand it, so they might be very at first at least, be a bit more skeptical about having technology decide. That's what I meant.
Okay, but I believe one issue is also that we somehow want to perceive that the human being is the one with the responsibility about the decisions. So even if we have a human to supervise the machine and sometimes correct the decision it makes, it could bias us to like inflate the error rate that the machine does by like rejecting good propositions that the AI makes. Do you get the idea?
You mean that the AI proposes the therapist make that decision, but the therapist says, no, I think this something else is better.
Yeah, and this actually makes us more error prone because we like to perceive that the human has the responsibility.
Yes.
Was that a question directed to me? Was that
an
idea?
That was an idea. Just
okay. A good idea.
Question.
There's a question here.
Can AI be responsible? So, and if it can't, who is then if there is no human touch? Like with whoever wants to. Like who has a comment or thought about that? So like if it's a counseling by the AI, you have this question like at least legally who is responsible if things go on. So can AI be responsible?
Basically this question goes to the field who decides over your life. Whether you trust the computer to decide over your life or you decide on your own. So basically if we give all the rights or all the all the rights to the AI. Basically, we just give up on living in this sense. We just trust that the machine knows better than we do. I'm not even talking about the human touch or about the counselor. I'm just simply talking about me versus the computer. I'm just asking, like, what should I do now? And the computer tells, just jump off a cliff, and I go do that because the artificial intelligence told me to do that. Because it obviously calculated that we can't do that.
It's a really vague scenario, but let's say it is true, and it happens. I do that. Who is responsible? Like we can't.
I'm responsible because I trusted the computer, and I'm dead.
In that case, we
because basically everyone's responsible on their own decisions in this sense.
On client, so client is like his or her own fault if he took the action.
No.
Which he or she got from the AI.
But you can read a book and then
exactly.
jump off a cliff.
But
unless you
think
thought you were
about
talking.
counseling, I think, or do we? I don't know. Is counseling like reading a book? I'm making conscious decisions about myself, even if they come from really reliable source. I don't know. You tell me. Why do we go to counselor? Why do we think that things that I read from Elu and Nelly are not as valid as things that counselor said?
Yeah, if you think you're seeing a counselor, not reading a book, then it's definitely not that, you have the right to think you're getting therapy, and it's a different context than reading a book. But in some cases, I think now you don't even know if you're talking to a person or to a chatbot, for instance. Maybe not in critical situations, but you don't actually know, right? If these things pop up on the screen, right, and you start a chat, then even in health-related things, which are not diagnosis, but some kind of, coaching or symptom checking, you don't know at what point you are being handed over to a human or whether you're still talking to a robot.
Mm-hmm. But the question of responsibility is still on the table, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we didn't solve it. We just said that maybe we could work around it. So nobody's actually responsible. You did whatever you did, and it's your life and so on. But at the moment, we are providing I don't know how to put it. Somebody's getting paid for this, the actions that counselor does. So, legally, somebody has some responsibility over what is happening with the client, what kind of interactions there are. But if something goes off, way off with the computer program, who exactly will be responsible in that case? I think if the human does has last word, then it's much easier to point a finger on, or is it? Because if you decide that maybe computer is wrong or AI, then you're again in the position where you're taking responsibility. I think it's really pretty complicated.
Do you have a question or a comment?
Comment.
Yes.
I want to comment his question. Actually, that is a really hot topic at the moment. The machine ethics, where the responsibility lies in situations where AI makes a mistake, and there are several research groups just formed to investigate the question. You might have heard the MIT study about self-driving cars. And I just want to comment that these are actually investigated at the moment, and we do not yet know the consensus about where people perceive the responsibility to lie.
Comments or question? You have something and...
Comment? Yeah.
Yes.
Me first?
Yes.
You first? Okay, I had just one short comment about that before, about human touch, that I'm thinking that if we manage to create an AI that has all the cognitive abilities of a human, I would say that we have basically created a human, maybe without a body. And if we don't manage to create all the human cognitive abilities, then there will always be a place for a human to complement or to have a place in the therapy session.
I think back then when you manage to create all the human cognitive abilities in an AI, it's going to be greater than human being. It's going to be something like way over.
It might be human and
Human
something else.
2.0.
Yeah, this part, in a sense, human also. It has those.
Larry has a comment or a question?
Comment.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking that once again the words and concepts we use are tremendously important, because like we could have this self-help program of thing which has AI properties, and like people would probably read like, oh, this robot is saying I should do this and this, like it's suggesting something and I'm evaluating it. But then again, we could have this robot's AI counselor. We would that the robots or the AI or somebody behind it is responsible, and these two would be quite similar.
Let's try to wrap up this topic and move on, slowly move on to talking about applying all this on research. You have a comment there.
Yeah, I guess I can give like a firm idea of who cannot be blamed is the people who have done the algorithm, because once the algorithm is done, it starts learning itself. So whatever it suggests the person, it has not been coded to say that it has learned it from the data. So, like you said, we all are responsible in that sense. The good example is of this, whatever company released this Twitter bot that went on, and for like in a few days, people had turned her into a Nazi. So it wasn't coded like that, but people made it like that. So who's to blame there? The trolls.
There's a question. You had a question or not?
Yeah, it might be research related, it might be related to this, I'm not sure. It's just, we learned in one of the courses that we learned more about like the visual perception of humans throughout the AI. So my question is, also after I heard this, should we keep learning from machines, because apparently they can show a great deal of how we are, but then again, should we listen to them, because then would it turn into what you said, that we are going to follow the machine and just follow it blindly? Should we bring on our own biased mind, because our mind are biased because it's so complex, or should we learn something from the AIs and what they seem to show about our mind? It's a very abstract question, but I'm not even sure where I'm going with it myself. But yeah, should we keep learning from the AI, or is there a time where we need to stop and say this is too much? We're actually like losing our human heart.
I have a short comment on that, just a comment, not an answer. Just look into the history. Like, how do people behave throughout the history? Like, are we all just individuals, or are we followers? I'm not giving an answer. I'm just like, because I think history tells us a lot about human nature in this sense. But it's up to our own mind to make up come up with an answer.
Can we make a smooth transition, keeping this question in mind and research in mind, so that everybody gives an answer? Let's start from Lina.
And somebody else can also start.
Like, what can we learn? Do we need to learn from AI? What kind of ideas do you get when you think about learning from AI and learning from counseling? You had that in mind as well? And doing research in psychology. Should we learn from it?
Well, actually, at first, I guess, at least for the next 20 years, we are going to be the ones who are going to set the balance there. And we can, if we all together say that, okay, maybe let's not use AI, it's going to destroy humankind, then we're probably going to pull the lever on like, okay, let's not develop any further. So probably like learning from AI is to some extent a good idea. Maybe we should, I'm not sure how we should pace it, because I think since technology is going faster than we can like keep up, maybe we can like at first pace it, like take it slow, you know, and learn so that we can. So it's well, of course we could learn from AI and we could use it and it would be useful, but I'm not sure who's going to say where's this line that from which level it is useful and from which level it is too much. My first ideas.
Any first ideas from Galea and Annika?
Well, this is not like a fully formed idea, but what I was starting to play with is that I think there are multiple levels to this question, as in that there's this one level of how much we as a human race or like as a society can learn from AI, and I believe that not all knowledge is good knowledge, but that we have something to learn from everything. On a personal and professional level, I also think that everyone should broaden their horizon and take something from whatever they can, really. It just depends on how specific we get. Because I don't think that every person has a lot of specific things they need to know about AI, but I think that every profession, every human being has quite a lot to learn from AI, both professionally and on a very humane level. Just even to ask the question of who am I really? What does it mean to be a human being? What distinguishes me from this technological creation? So, yeah.
Any comments from Jan?
I was just thinking that there are institutions that are already doing research on this. For instance, Singularity University of Red, and we should deal with it academically, because we can already see interesting challenges coming from there. For instance, you have problems like if your cars are self-driving, you have less accidents. If you have less accidents, you have less human organs, body parts for patients. But, you know, it's going to be a problem.
You can print those.
It would have it wasn't considered a big problem 20 years ago. Yeah. So yes, we should deal with it.
Quick comment from Galla as well?
I'll pass now.
Okay. So a question from
Yeah, I have a more, maybe we have been having very negative and cynical discussion so far, so maybe something more positive and pragmatic. For example, Jan, how much is there, like talking about this using AI for research, how much is there effort in giving models to AI for AI to produce some hypotheses that then could be validated in real world and go through this iteration loop? Like AI providing some hypothesis, perhaps novel hypothesis for research that could be done then, for example, on cognitive functions, higher cognitive functions or something.
I really don't know the big picture in this, but I can give you a specific example that I'm currently working on. I'm working with a startup, VerbIQ, and it's basically, it started off from us noticing that there are parents, usually first-time parents, and when their child is, let's say, 1 or 2 years old, which is the time when kids usually start talking or saying the first words, then there are first-time parents who are thinking, okay, is my child talking enough? This other kid is talking more. Is my child okay, basically? And then they go to the pediatric specialist or family doctor, and they say, my child is 2 years old, not talking at all or not saying much. Is there a problem? And then in most European countries, the doctor doesn't really say much about speech development until 3 years old. So it's too early in that sense. but we are building an app for a chatbot basically that listens to the parent and says, okay, so give me the words that your child currently says. It can be one word or a nonsense word or many words. And then you take the data, you compare it to databases which are out there, because you have databases. Like if you are from Denmark, then we know like the first 48 words out of 50 first words that the child is going to probably say, because this data is out there. And you also have the pair data, so with other parents who are inserting words or recording. So just to wrap it up, if let's say you get a bad result and the child is not saying like a word at 2 years old, when should already be saying a combination of two words, and you see that the child is, let's say, at the bottom 10% or 10th percentile, then should the app tell the parent that there is a problem or not? It's a legal question, actually. For instance, in Estonia, that we are saying, basically, we are telling the app to say that maybe discuss this with your doctor. That's it, just to be on the safe side. Whereas actually, you can probably predict the future course of events already at 2 years old. You don't have to wait until the child is 3. So my point is that you can trust the chatbot or the AI to give like final conclusions or statements to scare the parent. But you can trust the AI to ask for data and make the parent, think of things that are relevant.
Question from Richard.
Tiedurist hospitals have done lots of work on that. Do you use the MacArthur test as a prototype for the app or not?
Not that test, because we are using in English. So we have the English. It's all language specific.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's not for Estonian.
For Estonia, there's not enough data.
Okay, because we have the norms at least at this moment.
Yeah.
For the Estonian children.
But
there was a PhD thesis. Defended just half a year ago. So this is quite new.
Matthias, you had a question.
Yeah, maybe just a comment about the research part. Is that just to give a context of how in the beginning of everything we are, is that there's many smart people thinking about how do we keep the AI from turning evil, right? We want them to be very much like us, value the same things, so logical ways that, we just kind of code in the human values. And then you look at the research of what is the basic human values, and you see that, we don't know yet. So it's difficult. It's called the value alignment problem, that how do we tell the AI systems what to value if we don't really understand? But if you ask two different people, they will tell you different values. And like, so like social science have a lot to do to figure out what is this human touch that we want to implement, because we don't know it yet. But the coders, they will do whatever the psychologist tells them to do, but they don't know what the values are. They are expecting us from this community of people who know things about the human.
Does Lina have a comment on that?
I agree. I absolutely, that's what I thought also before, that we have a part, not everybody can become programmers, or there's no point in it, because they can't have all the knowledge. So that's where the psychologists come in, and they have a word to say, and a lot of research to do, really.
The research is becoming a buzzword. More questions, please?
Yeah, a bit side note though. So about what Mali said, so can AI have personality? Or can there be a continuum of personalities within AI?
It's a matter of programming, I guess. You can program an AI to have personality.
Which means we program AIs to be slightly biased?
You could.
Absolutely.
You can do anything, basically.
What would be the
It's not the idea, but you can do it.
Would it be useful in some way?
It really depends on what the goal of the AI. Right? If the goal is to annoy anyone, then it becomes annoying. If the goal is to help everyone, then it becomes the best friend you will ever have. So it does whatever it takes to achieve the goal. And there are different philosophical directions of how these things can turn out really good or really bad. And we're all very much out of time to discuss this. We need some other content.
So let's wrap things up. Last comments from everyone, starting from here, for example.
Can we start from the other side?
To wrap things up, I would very much like to put some more ideas out there. It's like whatever we program, it's gonna the stuff we're gonna program into it. It's gonna be interacting on its own, and so I guess it's just a wild experiment to find out what's gonna happen when you put personality and values and everything into an AI. So and maybe it's gonna develop consciousness, and then you can't turn it off anymore. So it would be unethical. So yeah, finishing on a note that it's we'll see.
Okay, Jen.
All an experiment.
Yes. Annika now, maybe?
I was so happy
You can do jumpy.
Okay, anyway, as you probably have noticed, I'm not that good with technology, so I don't know much about that side. I'm very intrigued. I still think we have so much to learn. It's always so interesting, and even if you're not that into technology per se, or don't want to deal with AIs for the rest of your life, I think it raises questions for everyone. And yeah, I think for me, I will always value the imperfection of a human being, because all these philosophical, really mushy ideas that I have, but yeah.
You can program those as well.
But then you'd have to have someone else program it, because then you can find out the imperfections, and that makes it interesting. So yeah, it's definitely something that gives us so many options, and I'm very excited to see where people take it.
How about Galina?
Yeah, tricky times ahead. Yeah, we put so much trust into AI. Not yet, but the world's going to that direction that people just want to get rid of responsibility, and it's a matter of attitude, I'd say. Whether we trust the computer more than we trust ourselves, or it's not even that matter. It's just like a matter of life. Actually, it is. So yeah, I'm just gonna end with a philosophical note. That we don't know what the future brings, and the AI is going to be there anyways. So it's up to us whether we trust the computer more than we trust ourselves, or a counsellor, as we do now, because we don't have computers to that level now. We go to a counsellor, or does the computer know more about our lives than we do? It could, but we never know.
Right. And yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking too much, but I was thinking that what makes us still human is that when we talk about the future, then we look up and far.
Even though it's just outside the door.
I don't know if AI does the same.
Yeah.
Or if over years we'll do the same. So we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. That's
yes.
quite well. All right. Let's give a big hand to